right, kia ora tātou, everybody online. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy days to join us at this session. It's really, really great to have you online, and hopefully you're able to stay with us for most, if not all of the time. So as Paul mentioned, my name is Louise Unger, and I'm the General Manager of the Credit Branch of the Commission, and I've been in my role since March last year. So besides the ongoing pandemic disruptions and staff shortages we've all been experiencing, you've been experiencing them, we've been experiencing them, it has been a big year for all of us with the CCCFA changes. As you know, they were due to come into force on the 1st of October last year, but were pushed out to the 1st of December at a time when many of us were working from home and still trying to comprehend the traffic light settings for COVID. So I'd like to acknowledge that we know that these changes were significant for you, and it required time and energy to update your policies and processes and systems. We thank you for continuing to be resilient and flexible. And if this pandemic's taught us anything, is that we can all be resilient and flexible in the face of change with a little bit of stress thrown in. So as you all will know, there will still be more changes to the law to come, and I'll talk more on this soon. But I do acknowledge and also appreciate that staying across and up to date with these further changes is time consuming for you, your staff and your businesses. So as Paul mentioned, today is an opportunity to hear our perspectives on certain parts of the legislation, including what we've been focusing on and our priorities for the next year. And as Paul also mentioned, we've structured today's seminar around the topics that you told us most interest you. So thank you to those of you who responded to our newsletter survey and voted on these topics, and we've narrowed them down to 5 key areas. So we also asked you at that time to submit questions, and the answers to these have been incorporated to the extent we can into the content that will be delivered by my team today. And as Paul also mentioned, you'll also have the chance to ask more questions in the chat function. And much of what you'll hear today has been summarised in the brochure that Paul very kindly put up to the screen. It's been emailed to you, and it includes hyperlinks to relevant resources as well. So what does the Credit Branch of the Commission get up to throughout the year? Quite a lot, as I know my team can attest to, just as I know you are all very busy in your day-to-day work lives. So as I'm sure you're all aware, earlier this year, MB led a review into the implementation of the new affordability regulations that came into force on 1 December. The review looked into any unintended and unintended consequences of the regulations, and any options for change if unintended consequences were identified, which some were. So whilst the review was led by MB, it is the agency that recommends and leads policy in the legislative changes. It was reasonably supported by other council of financial regulator agencies, who are us as the Commission, the FMA, Reserve Bank and Treasury. The Commission also supported MB with the production of the resulting CCCFA review report, which was published in August, and we've been engaging with them around the changes arising out of the review, including the initial changes to the regulations and code that came into effect in July this year, and the more recent proposed set of changes announced in August and which have been recently consulted on. And these are regarding the calculation of discretionary expenses, the expensing of credit cards and buy now, pay later services, and also third-party financing. And more information about these changes can be found on the MB website, and we've included a link to the website in the brochure that you have. So moving from the review into our BAU work, we've completed our first year of assessing applications for certification. We have certified over 400 applicants and carried out over 1,200 individual fit and proper assessments. And this has been a huge achievement for both the industry and the Commission, and definitely our certification team. And I'm going to take this opportunity now to remind you of the requirement to notify our certification team about any change of circumstances which may impact on the certification. It's really important that you do that, and as you probably know, there is an obligation for you to do that. So the Commission is also working on further evolving our education and engagement programs with lenders and the consumer advisory sector. So we recently sent out our first newsletter to you, which is the one Paul mentioned, and we're continuing to develop our engagement program, which includes meeting with a number of lenders on an ongoing basis. so we can hear how things are going for you in the industry, what challenges you're facing, where there are gaps in our guidance, and what areas we can provide further clarification on. We appreciate that the CCCFA and the regulations are complex pieces of law, and also acknowledge that with the recent changes, there are even more obligations on you as lenders. Our newsletter and engagement meetings also give us the opportunity to provide you with an update of what we've been doing in the credit branch and what we are planning for the year ahead. And we're always keen to hear from you on how we are engaging in the guidance we provide. So please contact us if you have any feedback on those points. So I'd also like to welcome and acknowledge any organisations that are new to the consumer credit industry attending today. So we are looking to do more engagement with new lenders going forward, and you'll be hearing from us in the coming months on this. Turning to the topic of guidance, this year we've continued to develop specific guidance and update existing guidance to assist you in understanding your obligations under the Act and the regulations. We updated our disclosure guidance to reflect the 1 December changes. We've just updated our fee guidance, which was referred to in our recent newsletter. And we are currently working on annual returns guidance, and we'll be able to get that out for consultation very soon. The credit branch is also, in conjunction with our legal services team here, led the work around the Commission's consumer remediation guidance for businesses, which is in the process of being finalised after we sought feedback from stakeholders quite recently. So many of you will be aware that the Commission also enforces the Fair Trading Act, and we have a dedicated fair trading branch for this work. The Act was recently amended in August, and there are a number of changes to this legislation that you should be mindful of, particularly in relation to unfair contract terms and unconscionability. And there's a link again in the brochure for you to find out more about this on our website. So the credit branch also works very closely with the consumer advisory sector, including community groups and financial mentors. And we are running seminars for the sector later in the month on the same topics that we are covering today. Also in the education space for financial mentors, we've recently been running workshops covering the content in what we call our Red Flags document. This is a resource that provides financial mentors with information about lender obligations and consumer rights in those areas that their clients most need assistance. So many of you will probably be familiar with this resource, and we updated it last year to reflect the law changes. We're also excited to be launching what we call our new Quick Borrower Guide, which we've been working on over the last few months. We sought extensive feedback from stakeholders to create this, including lenders. This guide is designed for borrowers so that they can understand what to expect when they apply for a loan and throughout the loan life cycle. We think this will be a great resource for yourselves as lenders to have available and provide to borrowers either in hard copy or digitally. And we'll be providing you with a link to this resource as soon as it's available. So I'm keen to take this opportunity while I'm in front of you to remind you that we do actually have a lot of useful information on our website, including the guidance that I've already mentioned. And we are looking to update our website in 2023, along with looking at our guidance and its fit for purpose, to make it as easy to find and as user-friendly as possible. So I'm now going to move on to the work that the credit branch is doing in the investigation space. So our priorities for new investigations are driven by a number of factors, including recent law reforms. When considering complaints and other information we have about lenders, we use our strategy and current year's business plan to determine the importance and urgency of each investigation. So for our FY 22-23 business plan, and that runs from June to July, one of our main investigation priorities is responsible lending, which probably won't come as any surprise to you. In particular, 2 areas. So firstly, affordability and suitability obligations. And secondly, obligations around dealing with borrowers reasonably and ethically when difficulties arise. And it also won't come as any surprise to you that this will continue to be a focus for us given the current economic environment with inflation and rising cost of living. So that's obviously an area that we have to keep a particular focus on. So in the last financial year, we completed 66 investigations, which included as outcomes 28 what we call information passed to trader letters, So this is where we've been alerted to a potential issue and then provide educational information back to the trader. We also issue 17 compliance advice letters, 4 warning letters, and we currently have 5 active litigation files. In addition to reactive investigations based on complaints and intelligence, this financial year and into the following financial year, we will be proactively monitoring compliance with new and pre-1 December obligations. At this stage, the intention is to carry out monitoring in 5 distinct areas. But as with all initiatives, we need to be flexible around changing these if our data and intelligence or changes in the wider landscape, including the economic environment, direct us elsewhere. And these areas are advertising, fees, affordability, due diligence, and Part 5A of the Act, which is in relation to certification obligations. So advertising and certification monitoring will be ongoing, with the others more discrete projects. Our first project will be in the affordability area and is actually commenced. The other projects are yet to be fully scoped. So finally, before I finish up, I thought it would be worthwhile sharing an overview of our strategy and strategic priorities, which drive what initiatives we do in the areas we focus on. So the credit branch's strategy is set up to support the integrity of the lending system so that lending markets are safe, transparent, and fair. In order to do this, we are prioritising this financial year 4 initiatives. The first one is improving our data and intelligence capabilities so we can continue to enhance the way we make decisions that are informed by the best evidence we have available to us. The second strategic priority is resolving some of the wider credit regulatory system issues. And this includes, in particular, working more closely with other regulators such as the FMA and contributing to Council of Financial Regulator initiatives. The third priority is maturing our education and investigations processes to help us even more effectively prevent non-compliance and address it properly when it happens. This means that we are working on ensuring that our own internal processes and spans of work support us in using all of our regulatory toolkit, from engagement and education right through to litigation, and that this is done in the most fit-for-purpose ways to increase compliance in the industry and ultimately help ensure that lending markets are safe, transparent, and fair. And finally, the final priority is improving how we measure and monitor our work in order to be accountable to the public. And this includes how we communicate the work we do behind the scenes. I appreciate that sometimes it's hard to know what the Commission's doing, and right across the Commission, actually, we're really working hard on providing even more transparency around what we do and the outcomes that we achieve. So as much as they are our priorities now, though, I do have to call out, just like you, we have to remain agile, and that depends on the data and information that we get, and of course, whatever the world may throw at us next, which, as we all know, rapidly evolves. So I'm going to finish up there. I hope that you find today's sessions useful. Myself and the team really enjoyed putting them together. Thank you for your time, and mā te wā.
Kia ora, thank